Hey guys, it's your boy Yamantau, also known as M, here with the second episode of our brand new RP Spotlight series. Today, our guest is none other than Western Vapia, your usual RMB hero from the Strange Real RP. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking.
Awesome, man. So, I think we're just going to get right into it today because, fun fact, we tried to get this interview a couple of days ago, but everything didn't work out. So, your nation is called Western Vapia in the Strange Real roleplay. So, tell me how did that come to be?
Well, it used to be Western Vapia, but now I've just, shortened it to Vapia for simplicity's sake. But Western Vapia, when I originally made the nation state account, which is, how we roleplay. When I originally made it, I had it in my head that like if I put Western in the name, it would like indicate to people that it's a Western nation, even though I didn't realize that's not how that worked. So it kind of just stuck. I did try to get the original Vapia account, but apparently somebody else already had it, and there's like 3 years left on the CTA thing, so I'm just not even bothering.
That's all right. That's fair. That's fair. So how did you first find name?
Gonna be completely honest, I was watching the YouTuber Pyrocynical, and he had uploaded a video about some nation that someone made for him on Nation States, and I was like, what the hell is that? So I Googled it, and I was like, oh, it seems pretty cool. So then the next day in school, I made a nation, and that was the nation that I made.
Not bad, not bad. So how long have you been part of nation states now? Running up on 3 or 4 years, yeah?
Three years. We just passed. Not just passed. It's been 2 months, but I created Western Vapia on the 25th of September, 2017. So yeah, we're on track to hit 4 years next in the next few months.
Nice, nice, very nice. Congratulations on that. So the symbolism of your nation is very, very obviously Italian. Would you like to expand on just like some of the things that inspired your nation, both culturally and politically?
Well, do you mean when you say inspired? Do you mean like inspired the ideas, or like how I
inspired the ideas, what you've based things off of? Just kind of give us a rundown on how Vapia as it is now came to be.
So when I made the nation, I wanted it to be sort of like a small little nation that was kind of like traditionalist in the sense, that's when I first made it, and then it evolved over the 3 years. But basically, how it came to be is that around the time that I made Western Vapia, I kind of was opened to the cultural heritage of my in real life family. So I decided to do like some research on the country where my in real life family originates from, which is Italy. So after doing that, I made Western Vapia kind of just like a ripoff of an Italian nation, which has gone through some originality, has gone through an originality process since then. But basically, it became the way it is now with the Italian culture because I got in tune with that certain side of my family.
Okay. Now, I have to bring this up. You are kind of synonymous in the Strange Real community with a character that is now banned under under one of the newer rules. How how did you come to end up using Benito Mussolini as, as your government figurehead for so long? Like, this is just was it just for the meme, or was it like you were trying to actually build like a fascist government and role play that properly for a while? Because I know you've tried really hard to properly role play that.
Okay, so the answer to that, there's a few reasons that it happened. I'm just gonna try to be straightforward as possible here.
No
So
worries. No worries.
it was around this time when a lot of people, and a lot of people still, they base their characters off of like, real life people. And it was around this time where I was basing my monarchical government off of the former real life royal family of Italy, which was the House of Savoy, or the Savoy family, or the Emmanuels, that branch of that royal house. And I'm a guy on the internet who spends way too much time on the internet, so I went through a phase like anyone else did, and I got really interested in World War II. And
That's fair.
and I don't about this is before I used Reddit, by the way, so don't call me, so I don't want to hear anyone in the comments call me a Redditor. So I'm like, but like I wasn't interested in like the basic thing, the very basic ideas of World War II, like, oh, like Germany, like France and all this stuff. I was interested in like the powers of the war that nobody talked about, like Romania, Hungary, and Italy. I know people talked about Italy, but the only thing they talked about is, when these, switch sides, haha, very funny meme. And I got interested in it because I looked at the system of government. And I was like, I wasn't fascinated, but I'm not a fascist in any sort of way.
No.
But if you are someone who is at the time very culturally in tune with everything, and you see and you just look, and you can get a feel for how people felt at the time. And I was kind of, since I didn't really have any other like original ideas, I decided to just straight rip the character off the history books and plaster him into my nation. Now, the validity of this, in 2020, it's probably a no-go, considering, everything that we know about the character. But the thing about the way that I'd like to view it, from my own perspective, anyway, I know people are, pieces of crap, and they'll do it for ulterior motives. But my motivation was to not hyper focus on all the wrong, but just hyper focus on how it was done and how it happened, and kind of just not ignoring the real life implications of what this person had done, but to kind of plaster them onto a fake nation, give them a fake personality and stuff like that. It's just, in reality, it was not the same it was obviously not the same person. It was a canvas for something completely different. But now that they're gone, it really doesn't matter too much.
No. So your another thing you've been kind of famous for is how rapidly your government changes. How many times do you figure you have switched forms of government in Vapia?
Well over 30.
Well over 30.
All right. In canon, I've only ever had like 5 changes, because I just have to, like, ever since up to last year, I've just been trying to, like, have a headcanon that makes a little bit more sense. So I've just been scrapping all of the ideology changes that only lasted for like a few days or something.
Why are you
Okay.
switching your government around like that? Is it experimentation that you're interested in, or is it like what motive do you get to do that in your role play?
Well, the reason why I did it's kind of silly, but like I'm on the internet a lot, right? I explained this earlier. So I watch a lot of, and because I'm like a history nerd and stuff, I watch a lot of like historical and modern stuff. I listen to a lot of historical and current music and stuff, and I get inspired. And when I get inspired, I get like ideas, and I want to do them. But then it's like, no, it's gonna like screw up everything. But then my brain is like, do it, and then I do it anyway. And it's a lot of like spur of the moment like decisions and ideas, and I don't I don't like it's very hard for me to be consistent with it, but after at this point it's a lot better
We've got
nowadays.
an audience question here. Which government was your favorite so far?
Which government has been my favorite so far? I'm gonna give an easy answer. My current one, just because it's the most original that it's ever been. Even though the original, I'm basing it off of another regime that happened historically, but it's still in terms of originality from my nation, it's a lot better.
Which current government is that?
So this needs like a brief backstory. So in the calendar year of 2019, which was like 3 years ago at this point, it's 2023 right now. There was a civil war between a a nationalist military faction of the Vapian Royal Armed Forces at the time, and basically what happened is that the king at the time, which was what the hell was his name? Uh,
Is that Victor Emmanuel?
no,
Yeah.
it was the other branch of it was Amadeo, the first, on the advice of his son the prince Amadeo the second. Basically the king was going to introduce democratic reforms and basically institute a parliament, and it would basically be stripping the monarchy of all of its practical power. And at this point monarchy the monarchy was kind of decaying at that point, but there was still a lot of like fierce nationalists in the military. So when the democratic reforms happened, the democratic parts of the government used their power to abolish the monarchy, and this pissed off like the factions of the military, and it radicalized a lot of non-radicalized soldiers. So there ended up being a civil war that kicked off between the Republic of Vapia and the state of Vapia, which was the which was the nationalist faction, and that nationalist faction was headed by a guy whose name is Angelo Martelli.
Hey.
And yeah, you remember we did that one
Yeah.
RP. Which it got retconned, by the way. Sorry to tell you. Uh,
That's all right.
so they rose up. The Civil War lasted for like about 7 months before the Democratic forces uh eventually fell, and Martelli took control of the country, and he was declared president by the new Senate, which is basically just a puppet government. The current Angelo Martelli, he set up this political party, which is the only legal political party in Western Vapia, right, or not Western Vapia, just Vapia right now, called the Black Rose. And it's nationalist bordering on on fascist, but I'm not trying to edge over into that bridge, even though I'm trying to make my nation as realistic as possible. I'm trying not to get it. I'm trying not to get it too over the edge because I'm not trying to get banned. Anyway, so yeah, the current government is a state fascist government bordering. No, it's just the state fascist government led by a dictator who holds the title of president, although he's trying to get the political title of emperor, but he lacks a bunch of internal and international support. And the Senate is basically just a puppet Senate, and yeah, that's about it.
So you have been here for a little over 3 years, as you said. What in that time has been your favorite RP to write?
My favorite RP to write was definitely this is actually fun. My favorite RP that I wrote was probably the one where the Sawteeth and the Vapians under Mussolini when we went to war.
Oh man, that's forever ago now.
Yeah,
That's
it was the first war RP that I actually wanted to dedicate some time to. And even though even though we never got to finish it, I thought it was still pretty fun.
I've also really held that RP in pretty high regard for the last couple years here. Well, I have to say I'm pretty honored to be one of your favorite artists.
No problem.
So, going with that, and this isn't a kind of a kiss up question. It's an honest question. If there's anybody in this community that you look up to, who is it?
There's only one person that I truly and honestly look up to, and that's Pridania.
It's hard not to look up to Pry. It really is.
Because he's a very honest guy, and he's a very cool. He's a very cool headed boss, and ever since he became my boss, I feel like everything order in the community has been it's been pretty good. He's very tough. He's a very tough guy, and he's willing to make the decisions that some other people would hesitate to make. And I just like the guy. He's a very nice guy when you're talking to him. When it comes down to business, he doesn't fucking play around. You're gonna have to bleep that out.
Come on. Yeah. He's always been a very fair moderator and admin since he's taken on that role. I think that's a fantastic choice. So what attracted you to RP in the first place, and what has kept you around?
Well, okay, so my first interaction on the R&B was at the immediate start was there was some drama, and I had no idea what I was doing at the time, so I was just going around, telling people, oh, I'm invading or I'm condemning you and stuff like that. The typical stuff that noobs do when they have no idea what the hell they're doing. So someone told me about the map, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, what the hell is that? What the hell is Strangereel? And they pointed me out to the fact book, and I was like, oh, this map looks pretty sick. Even though at the time, in hindsight, compared to the HD update, the map back then was a piece of garbage. And I was like, hey, you know what? That's pretty cool. And then I looked at my spot, and I was like, hey, that's a pretty cool spot. And that's how that happened. As for how I've stuck around, I want to say that I've been here long enough to consider myself kind of like an RP veteran. I don't know, that sounds kind of cringe when I say it out loud, but
It's valid.
I feel a strong connection to not just Strangio, but TNP in general, because I've made a lot of friends here. And even though, like, personally, I've gotten into a lot of crap with a lot of people, I don't feel like that diminishes the good things that myself and many other people have been able to do. And also, I stick around and I keep, being like being a moderator, because I feel like I still have a lot to contribute in terms of potential reforms and potential for the continuing stability of SR and RP and TNP in general.
So you've also mentioned you're a moderator. That's also a well-known fact. You've been a RMB RP moderator for about 2 years now, correct?
I can actually get let me get the date real quick, because I'm actually curious myself.
For sure. So the question that I'd like to ask about that, though, is, without going into specifics, how hard is it to moderate the RMB RP community?
How hard is it to moderate? Okay, so before I answer that, I've been a mod since September 18th, 2018. Which is weird, because I thought we did mod selections in January. Anyway, how hard is it to moderate the RMB? Well, moderating the actual RMB is nigh impossible, because that's not actually it's technically my jurisdiction, but it's not my jurisdiction. The other NS moderators handle, toxic accounts, the
Of
border
course.
the border people, they kick out people. But for moderating like RP on the RMB, it's not that difficult. You just need to be vigilant and be on top of the knowledge, in case the rule book changes, or people just haven't read the full rule book, because it's a long read, and I can understand why people they skim over some of the unimportant fluff in it, but still it's still an important read. But moderating it is not, it's not difficult. It's just a lot of work. It's just a lot of, just like being aware of what's going on.
That's a good answer. I like that answer. So another thing that you are fairly well known for is being the head of an alliance called the Pax Helvetica, formerly known as Haven's League, formerly known as Hotel Lala, which was one of the most powerful alliances in Strange Real. Tell us a little bit about Pax Helvetica and how you came into the leadership of that.
Oh, wow, are we allowed to talk about drama on this?
Let's avoid the dramatics of it. If anyone is curious about the dramatics of it, they can ask later.
Okay. So basically, when the first technical RP was Western Vapia being conquered by the former head of the Hotel Lala Alliance, which was I'm not gonna say her name. Anyway, I got conquered. Technically, I also got conquered by Lotion. And then I was released from occupation like two OOC / out of character like weeks later, and then I just decided to join. Join the power club, because at the time I didn't understand that like power didn't mean like anything in the RP. It's funny to look back at now, but basically I got myself promoted to quartermaster, which is like the bottom of the barrel of the staff. And for some reason, when it, like in 2018, I think it was June 6th, 2018, is when the founders and the head of the alliance left the RP, and for some God knows reason, instead of making the designated successor the head, she made me the head of the alliance. For whatever reason she had for doing so, uh, it happened, and that's how I became the head. After she left, we wanted to keep the HL acronym, so we changed it to Havens League, even though looking back at it now, the name is not the best. So then we changed it to something a little bit more original, something that's less about the past and more about the future. So then we decided to name it Haven Peace / Pax Veneco, which is the legal name for it. The quote unquote power of the alliance has diminished since we don't have like 25 members, and we don't have like the ridiculous numbers that alliances used to put up back then. Like now we're down to like 10 11 nations, and the powers of the overall alliances in general have diminished because of establishing rules. Because alliances back then, when we established them, when the map was like first made and there were like no rules, alliances were made to counteract like imperialists who just wanted to like annex and invade stuff. Well, now that their power has basically like diminished almost completely because of new rules that basically protect nations against like baseless imperialism. And now everything's gone more towards the system that Eris has, if anyone knows about Eris, where everything is done like completely on a consensual level. There's still some aspects of RP that don't happen on a consensual level. You know, they just agree to like do stuff and then, you know, see what happens.
Yeah, of course.
But otherwise, you know, that's how PH happened.
Right on. So, what are your future plans for Western Vapia or Vapia?
Well, currently in the story, my leader, my dictator, his name Angelo Martelli. I already told you his name. Currently, the objective is to reconquer in a sense that the old Vapian state, which is we call Revigia, which is a blatant Roman ripoff. Yes, I know. Basically, the whole idea is that he wants to reconquer lands owned by the Rovingian Empire and basically create a new Rovingian state under Vapian leadership and declare himself emperor, because that's how, you know, mad power hungry, you know, fascist dictators are. That definitely inspired by the desire for many Risorgimentoists to reclaim Italian glory in the aftermath of World War I and stuff. But I feel like this has a lot less baggage when it comes to it. So currently, that's the current objective. As for like any like future like other plans besides that, no idea what's gonna happen next.
That's awesome, man. But you obviously see yourself remaining in the community for quite some time.
I don't really ever see myself leaving unless like something like really major happens or I get banned or something. I just don't feel the need to leave, you know?
That's fair. I know I very much enjoyed my time, especially with you and our other friend Steve there while I was in Strandriel. It's a great entry point into the RP community for people coming off nation states. And I would recommend most people from the nation states website to give Strange Reel a try. So, speaking,
wait,
you
I actually have one more thing to add to that last question. Future plans. One last future plan is to completely obliterate the from an IC perspective, completely obliterate the Ocean Coalition, which is currently invading my home continent as we speak.
I see.
Completely forgot that was even happening. Not gonna lie.
So we have an audience question from another fantastic RPer, Paxio Solange, also known as Tusakaway, or the Fuchsian Empire. Vapia, what is the most important thing you learned from SRRP?
I feel like there's a very fine definition of groups when you go into RP. There's the people who have absolutely no idea what they're doing, and there are people who understand that this is a game. The thing that I learned most when I came in, so I was a 17-year-old in, I was in my junior/senior year of college or whatever it was. I don't even remember at this moment. The thing that I learned, and it's the most important, and this can happen to anybody, is that you don't realize that it's just a game. You can very hyper focus on yourself in the beginning, but the thing that you need, that it's crucial that everybody learns this, is that it's just that RP is RP. Every single nation that you RP with, there's a person behind the screen, and it doesn't matter how much power or thing that you say that you have in the RP. In the end, you don't. It's just a game. That's the. I feel like that's the moral. That's the moral of that question here. RP. You can RP to be a powerful nation and stuff like that. But in the end, it's just a game, and it's a very good outlet to make some friends, and expand your ability to interact with people.
Hell yeah. We have another question from our good man Fiji here. Where can we find more information about your nation? Are there specific fact books, dispatches, or posts that you are especially proud of?
I actually made a few fact books that can explain some basic stats about my nation, some locations about the greater empire. I'm not sure about posts, but there are definitely a lot of fact books. I made 5 or 6 fact books all about the government, the nation as a whole, and the various colonies that my nation has.
You've got a colony on just about every continent in Strange Reel, do you not?
No, I actually don't.
Oh,
you
must have reduced them back, didn't you?
You're thinking of you're thinking of lotion. I actually have I want to say how many. I have 2 on Ania, one on Osea, next to Hong Kong Empire.
Now, if I also understand, you also control a very vital piece of Strange Reel history now, in the form of Gorkask, which is the former capital of Puchkovska, if I'm saying that correctly, who was an RPer that left after some manner of dispute some months ago. How has that experience been with running that nation in trust?
There's been some hiccups, because here's the thing, the nation was built by someone who very clearly understands the values of anarcho-communists, which is what the nation is. I'm someone who like is the complete opposite. I have no idea, or I had no idea what like any anarcho-communist values are. So I had to talk with this person about Gorkask and like what policies it should have, and about the government and stuff, and like what like the powers of the national government would be. And I'm still a little bit confused by it. But eventually I did manage to cobble together, you know, a somewhat cohesive society out of what is left. And I did manage to address the issues of, oh, why would they remain anarcho-communist when their entire nation has collapsed because of anarcho-communism? And I addressed that by having a secondary nation made, which is basically just a nation built by, you know, like a coalition between like moderate left wing, moderate right wing Puchovskins. I don't know how you say that. So I'm just gonna call them Puchovskins. And I kind of created a little rivalry between these two nations because Gorkask is, if you go by government, Gorkask is the legitimate successor state to Puxovska, and if you want to get real clear about it, they are Puxovska. But the secondary nation Tirdza, which is in the former commune of Tirdza, also claims to be a successor state of Puxovska, and technically speaking, they're the monarchist faction, the monarchist political party in Tirdza actually contains a political figure who is a direct descendant, not a direct descendant. They're a descendant of the last monarch of Puxovska.
All right. So we also have numerous other maps and role plays in our fantastic North Pacific roleplay community. If you could, or had the time to, which of the other RPs would you love to try out?
I've actually been on I've actually been on two of the other maps. I was on Acheron, and I was on Eras. And if I had to recommend any of the other maps besides SR, I definitely 100% recommend Eras, because if you go into Eras, the community over there is very welcoming. And they they can teach you a lot about what it means to be a role player, and like what it mean, and like how to like effectively RP with other people. You know, there's mistakes are tolerated in all of TNP, but especially in Eris. You know, they're very accommodating, provided that you understand that what you did was a mistake and you're able to get past it. And also, Eris just has a lot of like very interesting nations. It has a very interesting history that I learned a lot about from talking with Pridania. And we talked about the fascist wars, the Pridanian Civil War, the diplomatic incidents around the world and stuff like that. It's all very interesting to me.
Right on, man. So, I think I just have a couple more questions for you here before we wrap up. If you could provide one argument for somebody as to why they should give Strange Reel a chance, what would it be?
Well, if I had to do so, I tell them that, you know, SR, it's a very good starting point if you're trying to learn how to roleplay, provided you do the correct reading, because because you're not just gonna instantly learn. It's something that you need to go through the process, but you'll learn how to do stuff very quickly, provided you're willing and open to doing the reading in the reading provided by the mods, and provide that you're willing to interact with the community. You will learn a lot of stuff very quickly, and you'll have a good experience, because SR, we have a lot of restrictions, but at the same time we have a lot of freedoms, freedoms to basically do a lot of stuff that in other communities you may not necessarily be able to do. And when I say other communities, I mean like other regions. Because as far as I'm aware, North Pacific has like the freest RP that anyone could possibly have, as far as I'm aware.
I will have to agree with you. I've done my fair bit of traveling around with other RP communities on nation states, and TNP does have one of the freest and richest RP communities on nation states. Now, I'd like to really briefly touch on one of your other duties. Like you're a busy guy. You are an RPer. You're an RP moderator. You are also the head cartographer for the Strange Real map. So, like, what kind of work goes into that? Because I know you've also got a pretty excellent team working with you.
I do have a very excellent team. So, in previous cartography teams, the head cartographer themselves would contribute a large amount to actually making the maps. And I felt like this would kind of alienate the rest of the team, because if one guy can make the map, what's the point of having the team? So when I accumulated the position after some disputes and some incidents, using Mod Authority, I was able to get myself the position, and bring some security to the position. And basically, what happened is that I hired like 2 or 3 guys to bring onto the team. I shuffled the team around a little bit, and now everyone has a role. See, I have some paint programs, but I do not have the first clue when it comes to actually making our map at this very moment. I'm in the process of learning how to do stuff, but mostly my position right now, my work is approving stuff, double checking the rules, making sure everyone has like correct claim limits and stuff like that. And my team, I placed a lot of points on my team when it comes to making the map. We have the man who mans the archives, which is Nutrisone. Bork, who makes the map, or him who makes parts of the map. We have Miruna, who does like purges and stuff, and we have British Bayonet / Crinslow, who is also a moderator, and he's also part of the cartography team. Basically, Borkin and British Bayonet, they will make the map. Either of them will make the map depending on availability. I've structured the whole team so that there's flexibility. If one person cannot cover, everyone is basically double qualified for something else. Bork also double qualifies as our purge noticer. So if someone does not post within the required amount of time, they make a post, giving them a warning, and if they have not posted by the time the next map comes around, which our map updates every Saturday, the map will then enter the first stage, which is purges, which is something Menuda does. And everything goes into a stage format until finally it's ready and posted on the Discord. And then later in the day, when the guy who owns the fact book, which is Lotion, when he's ready, he'll post the map on the R&B itself.
Excellent. So, with the map being updated every Saturday, Strange Rail is likely one of the most frequently updated maps in the North Pacific roleplay community. Would I be probably correct in assuming that?
Probably.
Yeah. And also, for anybody who doesn't know, the person he's referring to as Bork is an RPer, also known as Wappen Islands, who also goes under the name Faltsu on Eris. It's a fantastic kid. Well, I think I'm just about done picking your brain here. It was an absolute pleasure to have you, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, Western Vapia. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for another fantastic episode of TMP RP Spotlight on Northern Broadcast Service. Thank you for listening, and have a great night.